First, you want to start us off by telling us your name and talk about where you're currently living?
Yes, ma'am. My name is George Kasayev. I am a realtor here in Athens, Georgia. I've been living in Athens, Georgia since '96. Love this town. And I guess that kind of rolls into the second question. That's why I decided to see if I could do a little bit of a interview about this town. I use your website a lot as a real estate agent. I'm constantly running numbers and stuff like that. And Best Places is an amazing resource.
Great. What is it specifically about Athens that you really like?
Oh my God, there's so many things. It's hard to pinpoint. One of the biggest things is it's kind of like the first place I ever came to call home. I was born in Russia, and I was part of the circus, and so we moved my entire life. 6 weeks here, 2 weeks there, one day here, and so Athens. We came to Athens back in 1996. We were invited to perform during the smaller Olympic Games that were in town because they had like gymnastics and swimming and soccer in Athens. And so we were invited from Mexico to come and perform. And so when I first got here, it was like my first spot that I really, set some roots, had friends, went to school. So that's part of it. But over what I love about Athens now that I'm older is how inclusive it is. I've been in all over the United States in different parts of different. The South is particular, and it's a beautiful place, and but it's the community of the South is like, are you from around here? And Athens isn't like that because nobody here is from around here. It's such a college town that we get about 50,000 brand new people every year, and so it's kind of like such a transitional spot that everybody can make it their own without having to be from here.
Great. That's wonderful. On the flip side, are there some things about Athens that you don't like or that you could live without?
Well, I guess the student population on the same side, and it's not the students themselves. As actually, I used to work in a bar in Athens, and I did a lot of football games, and the influx of people into town is incredible. Now, I'm not saying I want to do without the football games. I'm just glad I'm no longer a bartender doing football games, and now I can actually hang out with people and enjoy the game myself. That's a lot better. So, if anything I could do without is not bartending in Athens, I could do it without that. So.
Great. Fascinating. All of that considered, overall, would you recommend someone else move to Athens?
Oh, for sure. Depending on what you're looking for, obviously, every place has stages of life that it's best suited for. College years are best spent in Athens. It's an amazing town. You can have a lot of fun, and the education system is now nationally ranked. So UGA is a great place to attend. And on the other side, once you're getting into your middle age and like the retirement ages, also a perfect spot. The only spot that I would say that Athens is kind of difficult for is right after you graduate college to find a job in almost any field, you'd have to come out of Athens. Not necessarily because you couldn't get a job here, but if you wanted to, have competitive pay, national averages and all that, you'd probably have to take a gander outside. And once you get a little bit more experience in your field, you can definitely come back.
Great. Interesting. So you mentioned you're from Russia and you came to Athens from Mexico, you said. Have you lived anywhere else in the US?
Oh yeah, I've lived all over the United States, Canada. We traveled after we came from Mexico here. We worked in Athens for about 2 weeks, and then we traveled all over the United States, every state that you can imagine. And then we actually settled out for a time in Virginia Beach, and I lived there for about 3 years. And then when I was actually deciding to get back and get into college and stuff like that, that's when I decided to go back to Athens because I had some really good friends here. And then for those of you that might not know, Georgia has the Hope Scholarship, which if your grades are good and your GPA is good, pretty much any resident of Georgia is eligible for. And so when I decided to go back to college, I was like, well, that's a really good help for someone that wants to get through college, but might not be able to afford it on their own. And so I got back to Athens, was lived here for a couple of years, became a citizen of Georgia, and then decided to go to UGA, and Hope essentially paid for my entire ride. So that was another advantage.
Great, interesting. So, in all of your moves across the U.S., it sounds like the most impactful one for you is the one from Georgia to Athens, or not Georgia to Athens, sorry, from Virginia to Athens.
Mhm. I'd say so because that was the move that I made by myself. Before that, I traveled in a family business. We were contracted out, so it was kind of easy. Somebody tells you, well, you're moving tomorrow to Arizona. You're going to be there for 3 weeks, and then you're going to go to Texas. And you're like, all right, that's fine. I got everything is already lined up, so it's easy to move. But when you make a move and you're going with hopes of accomplishing something, it's not necessarily has been laid out and spelled out for you. You have to go do the work. That's a little nerve wracking, especially for me when I moved. I was 20, I think. It was like my first big move away from my family and stuff like that. I know that's kind of probably unconventional. Most people get out in the United States when they're 18 and they're all, awesome like that. I wasn't able to do that. I worked in a family business for a long time. So for me, the move from Virginia to Georgia was one of the most significant just because it was me. It was no one I could turn back to and be like, well, I don't like this. Can we just leave? Nah, I was like, I told my dad I'm gonna come here. I told him I'm getting into college. I told him I'm doing all of this and that I don't want to do the family business for right now. And so there was a lot of pressure on it. So yeah, Virginia to Athens was one of the biggest moves for me personally.
Wow. Do you have any advice for people who might be making a similar move sometime soon?
Yes, for sure. I believe that the more you know about where you're going to be, the easier it is to get there. So if you know where you're going to be living, that's going to help out. If you know where you're going to be working, that's going to help out. If you know a couple of people, friends, uh, family members, other community networking type connections that you can make in the city that you're going to be moving to, that is always going to help because it's a lot easier to move into a community than it is to move to a place.
Yeah, that makes sense. What about in all of this move, specifically that move, but also just all of your moving in that you've done in your past? Did anything stick out to you as especially positive or negative that you would want to maybe repeat or not or do again in the future?
As just moving in general, or
Yeah, specifically the move to Athens, like the big move that we were just talking about, but also anything that sticks out.
so I think I'd probably hire movers next time because most of the moves that I've ever done, I've done them on my own, loading, unloading, and that's another thing that when you're moving great distances, that's just an extra thing that you have to now take care of. A, packing. B, how you're going to transport it all. Are you going to hire a van or are you going to hire a truck? Are you able to drive a truck or a van? And so you're getting the difficult thing like moving, and then you're compiling more difficult things on top of that. So if if I was doing it all over again, honestly, the way I would go, I'd go a real estate agent first, kind of figure out the lay of the land, what housing is like. Should I buy? Should I rent? Then talk to them because they're professionals in the field. And I'd ask them flat out, like, what's the best way to move here? Should I use a trucking company? Is there a good trucking company that you would recommend that is local? Or how would you go about it? Because then they like the lay of the land is so important because one company in New York could have representation in, say, Athens, but the company could be, the quality of it could be completely different. So you're researching in New York and you're like, wow, this is the best company ever. But you go to Athens and you talk to somebody who has interacted with that branch of it in Athens, and all of a sudden the company is not that good anymore. And you would have never known unless you reached out to an industry professional.
Yeah, that's really smart. It's a good piece of wisdom.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So you mentioned you're a real estate agent, and obviously the move. How has Best Places helped you in that?
Oh my goodness. So I'm a real estate agent, a real estate investor as well. I run a lot of my data comparison through best places. Like if I'm researching a new market, best places is invaluable. The information that you guys provide on demographics, on um, uh, employment rates, on future employment growth, on I mean, it's just a wealth of information. That's just a scratch of it. So the information that you guys provide is truly invaluable. It's all in one spot too, because you can use other websites like the Census Bureau website and this and that, and you can gather all of the information, but you guys curate it, put it in one spot. You can search by county, by zip code, by city. I mean, you guys do an amazing job.
Well, thanks. It's good to hear that we're so helpful. That was all of my questions for today. Before we sign off, do you have anything else that you want to share?
No, I just wanted to let everybody know that if you're considering Athens, this is a really good spot. People are pretty laid back, easygoing. There's no pressure here. You can go out and drink all day or work all day. It's really up to you how you want to experience this town. But folks are friendly, and the cost of living is very relatively inexpensive if you compare it to national averages. So I definitely recommend people to check this place out.
Great. Good to hear. All right. Well, it was lovely talking to you. Thanks so much for tuning in.
No problem. And if anybody wants to ever, like I said, take advantage of that, give a call to the real estate agent and find out about Athens, y'all can find me. I have a website. It's myathensrealtor.com. All of my information is there. Helpful articles in case you don't want to talk to anybody and just want to read. There's available there as well. Just want to help out.
Great. Yeah, we can put that link in the description too so people can find it.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. All right then. Well, it was lovely talking to you. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day. I'll let you go.